Hey, I'm Heather at Hunt Honey Homestead, and today we're going to be taking a look at our chicken coop. We raise chickens, turkeys, ducks, and quail here on our homestead, and our chicken flock is made up of about 30 laying hens with 3 roosters, and then we do a couple of rounds of meat birds throughout the year. We raise jumbo and celadon quail, and we run those in tractors around our yard, so we'll look at those a little later, but we're going to start out with our coop. We have right here our storage shed, which is all of our hay and feed and supplies. And then the next building here is our coop, which is attached to our goat barn. And it is divided by a wall in the middle. There's a door that we could open if we wanted to, but we do keep that closed. And then we have a 5-foot fence run that our chickens and our goats share. There is some cattle panels dividing it so that the goats can't get anywhere near to the chicken coop itself. But the chickens can make it through the cattle panel. Here's one of our new little babies. This is Eowyn. And then we've got Strider, Mary, and Pippin over there getting something to eat. We have 2 automatic doors. We have our first one that lets the chickens out of the coop and into the run in the morning, and then a second one that lets them out to free range, and that opens up in the afternoon and shuts long after their other doors close. So they have more than enough time to get back in to make it into their coop. Is shared for the goats and all of the birds. We have that as an automatic water with a float, and I love that. We just have to keep it cleaned out every day because it does get pretty dirty with everybody splashing around in there. You can see our cattle panels, which the chickens can fit through, but the turkeys can't. So we do have this one little opening here so that the turkeys and the bigger roosters can fit through and get to either side, but the goats can't come back through this side. We are getting close to bedtime for the chickens, so almost everybody's in here. We've got our driftwood roosting bars. We use the deep litter method in both our chicken coop and in our goat barn. It's our favorite method. We started out with straw, and that required such active management. It never smelled good, and we were just constantly working to keep it up. We did transition to sand, and I really did love sand. It was kind of therapeutic to rake it, but it still was requiring some effort. So finally, we switched to the deep litter method. We used sort of a gradient of, shavings and wood chips. A lot of shavings we were able to get for free from a local lumber mill. We added in some dried coffee grounds from a local coffee shop. Let's see, wood pellets that we use in our chick brooders ended up in there. So just all that stuff creates kind of, pieces of all sizes, and we just throw scratch out every now and then, and the chickens mix it. It never smells. It always looks great. I cannot advocate enough for the deep litter method. And the same thing in our goat barn. We throw scratch out there. When the goats aren't in there, the chickens go in, mix it all up, and that we have mucked out neither of these in a year and a half at least. The thing about the deep litter method, we don't have any water in our coop. We keep it all outside in that automatic waterer. We have food when we buy bagged food, but a lot of times we're using fermented, and so that's not really an issue either. But you can see that we do have our feeder hanging in there right now. You can also see our rollaway nesting box. That's from Hen Gear, and I love it. We sell our eggs in town at our farm stand, and so it's important that they're clean, and I like to sell them unwashed, and so that's been sort of a game changer for keeping our eggs clean. That's not to say we don't still have egg hunts every day, but a lot of them do end up in there. You can see the ducks enjoying that little water. Here's one of our quail tractors. This is what we use for our jumbo quail, and I keep 2 females and a male of each variety, which is plenty of eggs for us. Quail are incredible layers. The turnaround is insane. I mean, 6 to 7 weeks and you're either in meat or eggs. We use our quail for meat, for eggs for crafting, and then also I use them to feed my 2 ball pythons. The important thing about quail tractors, they need covered space to hide and have cover, but you don't want them to be too tall. Like 2 feet is as high as you want to get, because they will jump and startle and they can injure themselves, and so you want to keep it pretty low to the ground. A rule of thumb is like 1 square foot per bird, but we have quadruple that at least. I just like them to have as much space as possible. We have their crumble feed in there and water, and we just drag this up and down the yard. It is minimal impact on the grass, and they are so happy. I've kept them in cages in the past, and I actually hated them in cages. I thought they stunk. I thought they were gross. They were prone to illness, and out here I have like just the healthiest and seemingly happiest birds. So I mean, tractors I think are the way to go for quail. They're so small, you only need a tiny tractor, and they just seem so happy. This is our Celadon tractor, and it is not as impressive as the one my husband built. It's a lot smaller, but it does work great for the Celadon. We attach T-posts to it so that it's easy to drag and weights it down a little more. You can see it's still got their enclosed area here. And then they've got their water and their food inside there. We keep our duck water pond right next to one of our garden gates so that we can water with some of this duck water, and it's super easy to fill since we have the hoses right here already. Course, a ton of different ways you can do these things, and this is just what works for us. Thank you for watching.